ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to Rubber Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, it's almost like a mini WrestleMania weekend. We have lots of wrestling this weekend. On Friday night, we have Impact Wrestling, Under Siege. On Friday night, we also have GCW Lifestyle. I'll have that review up. We're going to get ready to do the preview of Under Siege. And then on Saturday, we got WWE Night of Champions. We're going to have that preview up. And then also on Saturday, we'll have FSW versus GCW 2. We'll have that review up. And then on Sunday, we have NXT Battleground and AEW Double or Nothing. We'll have all those reviews up for the Impact, WWE, NXT, AEW, along with the GCW. 2 shows on Friday night. Review will be up on Saturday more than likely, once I finish both shows on Friday night. Saturday, we have Night of Champions during the day, which we'll get that up. GCW versus FSW, that'll probably be in the evening. We'll get that up sometime either Saturday night late or Sunday. And then Sunday, if you're a NASCAR, if you're a racing fan and a wrestling fan, your day's full. Start the day off with the Formula One Grand Prix in Monaco. Then we'll have the Indianapolis 500, which will have a preview coming up here on the Robert Sports Show. And then we'll have the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600, that preview coming up as well. NASCAR Xfinity preview already up. NASCAR Truck Series already up. Yeah, lots going on Sunday and throughout the weekend. So let's get started here. Impact Wrestling, Under Siege, Friday night. We have some big matches here. This is one of their monthly pay-per-views, so it's available on Fight TV and on Impact Plus. First match, we have the Impact Digital Media title on the line on the pre-show. Champion Joe Hendry versus Dirty Dango. Yes, this is Fandango for WWE. Joe Hendry's had the title for 214 days. This digital media title, it's almost a third title right now for them. You think they would do it more because there's actually a digital media show on Tuesdays where literally they'll re-show a match that involved Impact Wrestling talent from another promotion. On occasion, they'll have new content. Like this week's was one from Smash Wrestling. It was Masha Slamovich and Jody Threat. I thought the digital media title was going to be more defended on that show, and it's really not been. Joe Hendry, his whole gimmick has been, if you say his name, he will appear. And people say Joe Hendry, oh Joe Hendry, and he shows up. Yeah, I mean, it's fun, but going against Dirty Dango on the pre-show here, there's no reason to take this title off of Joe Hendry right now. So I got Joe Hendry retaining. First match on the main card, we have the Impact World Tag Titles on the line. We had champions, ABC, which is another Bullet Club, Ace Austin and Chris Bay, all about the Bullet Club. Champions going up against actually Impact debut and an Impact return. We have Subculture, Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. Yes, the same Subculture that was part of NXT UK. Flash Morgan Webster making his Impact Wrestling debut. Mark Andrews, he was part of TNA back in 2016. Bullet Club has had the title 88 days. This is actually the longest reign since 2021. And the Good Brothers had 231 days, so they've been beating that title back and forth. I don't know if Subculture's coming in with a big enough impact to take these titles, and people are like, oh, I think ABC retains. So I think Bullet Club, Chris Bay, Ace Austin keep the titles. And we retain, but I think it's going to be a pretty good match. Next up, we have Kenny King versus the returning Nick Aldis. Yes, Nick Aldis, former holder of 10 pounds of gold NWA World Champion back in TNA. He was in TNA years ago as Magnus with Doug Williams and I think the third guy. He was part of that faction, whatever it was called back then. This is Nick Aldis' second match back in Impact Wrestling. No reason for him to lose here. So Nick Aldis wins this. Kenny King's going to put in a good match. I think it's going to be good to watch, enjoyable. But, you know, it is what it is. Nick Aldis wins. Next up, we have Trinity. Or, better known as Naomi. Yes, Naomi. Part of the freaking bloodline. Jimmy's wife. Can't pronounce her last name sometimes. Going up against Gisele Shaw. This is Trinity's second post-WWE match. This is only her second ever non-WWE match. She grew up in the FCW system, went up to NXT, went up to the main roster. So yeah, she's nothing but in WWE. This is only her second match. Gisele Shaw, She'll have Jay Vidal and Savannah Evans at her side. There's no reason for Trinity not to win this. You bring somebody that namesake in, the goal eventually is to build her up and become champion. So Trinity wins. Next up, we have the design. We have Angels, formerly known as Allen Angels, Diener, and Khan, going up against the team of Swann, Sami Zayn, and a mystery partner. What this kind of stems from, Sami Zayn was a lackey for the design, was trying to get into the design. They made him shave his head, made him do some different things. He ended up costing him some matches. Diener ended up kicking him out, or he ended up turning on Diener and not wanting to be in the faction before Diener kicked him out. Teamer with Swann, my guess would be the mystery partner, maybe the return of Josh Alexander. He was out for quad surgery, which is a typically 8 to 12 week recovery. He's been out 9. So this would be a way to kind of bring him back in the 6-man tag, or even have it 3-on-2 for a little while, let him come out, get a few moves in, and then kind of slowly build him back. But I think the mystery partner is Josh Alexander, and I think it's going to be a win by Swann, Callihan, and Alexander, if that is the mystery partner, whoever the mystery partner is. Next up, we have a 6-way number 1 contender match for the World Heavyweight title. These 6 guys, you can make a case for any 5 of them to be world champion. Alex Shelley, Frankie Kazarian, Eddie Edwards, Jonathan Gresham, Moose, Uemura. Uemura is part of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's part of the excursion they do. They come over to the U.S. or go to UK and do some stuff. Alex Shelley, former Impact Wrestling X Division champion, tag team champion, current Pro Wrestling Revolver champion, and so I think he's held the. Has he held the AEW title, the Impact title, world title? I think he's actually not held. I know Sabin's held the world title. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean he's been GCW Tag Team Champion. He's been New Japan Strong Tag Team Champion, Prestige Champion. So I think he lost from his few world title matches. I think he has lost. Here. Yeah, he lost to Josh Alexander back in August of 22. And he won the number 1 contender against Shelley. Yeah, so he's never been NXT. Impact Wrestling World Champion. Frankie Kazarian, he won the X title, cashed it in Option C for a world title shot, lost. Eddie Edwards is interesting. He is a former Impact World Heavyweight Champion. Also, the Impact World Title match, no DQ, is Steve Maclin versus PCO. Eddie Edwards and PCO have had a lot of feuds, a lot of history. So if PCO were to win the world title, it would make sense for Eddie Edwards to feud against him. Eddie Edwards, Steve Maclin, I'm not so sure about. Jonathan Gresham, former Ring of Honor champion, the Octopus, one of the greatest technical wrestlers in the business. You can make a case he deserves to be. He's a champion-worthy guy. Moose, he's held the title a couple times. He lost it. He won it on a cash-in, number 1 contender cash-in against Josh Alexander like minutes after Josh Alexander won his first title. Now, if Josh Alexander does return, I could see Moose winning this, eventually getting the title from Maclin. Moose and Maclin have also had history where they were on the same side, but they were kind of feuding against each other, costing each other matches, but helping each other, kind of that, enemy of my enemy, you're the enemy of my enemy, so you're my friend kind of deal, and that's how they were kind of getting along. Uemura is just kind of thrown in there to me. There's no way he wins this. My pick to win would be Moose, because of the history he's had with Steve Maclin, because when Josh Alexander does return, he relinquishes his title due to injury, so he's going to want a title shot. If Moose is champion at that time, you got to give him feud there that's already happened multiple times. It was a pretty good feud, actually. So I got Moose winning that. Next up, we have the Impact X Division title line. We have champion Trey Miguel versus Chris Sabin, versus Machine Gun. Miguel actually has the 7th longest reign, currently at 177 plus days. His last reign for Trey Miguel was 182 days, which was the 6th longest. Chris Sabin is 8-time X Division champion, but he hasn't held it since 2013. Honestly, at this point in time, with what Alex Shelley's doing, there's not a lot of reason for Chris Sabin to take the X title. At 177 days, it's not like he's had it too long. He's taken it in a lot of different places. Trey Miguel's kind of turned heel since he's had it. He's kind of painted it. Kind of the heel net, kind of the NWO version, but it's kind of green. His gimmick is like a street painter. So I don't have any reason for them to take the title off Trey Miguel. This is not I would say a show. This is more of the B show. This is not like a Bound for Glory or a Rebellion or one of those big shows they have, Hard to Kill. This is kind of the secondary show. So I think this is kind of, he's going to retain it, but it's going to be a really good match. Next up is the Impact Knockouts World Title on line. Champion Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace. Typically, this should be just a straightforward match, but there's a little gimmick on it. If Jordynne Grace loses, she cannot challenge Deonna Purrazzo for the title as long as Deonna has it. The problem is, Deonna's had it 38 days. Her last reign was 343 days. When Jordynne Grace had the title, she had it for 208. Mickie James was champion. She had a career on the line, and she went up. She lost the match. She was going to retire. She was able to keep winning. Went on to win the Knockouts title, but she got hurt. She had some broken ribs. This was back in 2 months ago, and so she had to relinquish the title for Deonna to win it. I think the Deonna-Mickie feud going forward might be a little bit better than Jordynne and Deonna. So what I could see them doing. Because if I remember correctly, when is their next show? They do these monthly shows. Let me see when the next big show is, because what I could see is Mickie coming back here and either costing Deonna the title or helping Deonna win the title, and then end up feuding Deonna and Mickie. So, Slammiversary is the next big show, and that's July 15th. So, we have Under Siege this month. Let's see here. Trying to find the monthly specials. And then, let's see here. So, Under Siege, then in June, we have Against All Odds. And then in July is Slammiversary. So I could definitely see this kind of maybe a Slammiversary doing something with Mickie and Deonna. So have Mickie return here and kind of build herself back. Get time to build herself back up. So I got Deonna retaining the title here. A possible return to Mickie James as well. And then we have our main event, which I don't know if this should be main event. Impact World Heavyweight title, no disqualification. Champion Steve Maclin versus PCO. Maclin's had the title 28 days. In Impact Wrestling terms, in pro wrestling terms, that's really nothing for a world champion. I think making a no disqualification kind of helps the PCO angle, but I also see if Eddie Edwards does not win the number one contender match, him coming out and costing PCO this and continuing their feud. And then if Moose wins that number one contender, him coming out and attacking Maclin in this main event, if this is the main event, just being a cluster, to be honest with you. But I have Steve Maclin retaining this title. No disqualification. You can do that kind of stuff, but I think it's going to be a cluster. But that is Impact Wrestling Under Siege preview. Once the show's over with, I get you everything watched. I'll get a review up of it. As always, thanks for watching the Rubber Sports Show. Don't have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Rubber Sports Show, your YouTube leader in sports sound content.